I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's you. That's your set. To come in there and find my name.
Okay.
But I like it.
I do like this.
We can have a dialogue.
So we will start tonight with Ms. Keegan's report.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
I would like to say Mackenzie is in absolutely beautiful shape thanks to our custodians and all of their hard work they have been putting forth all summer long. We are thrilled. We have some really nice upgrades at Mackenzie. We have new carpet in the computer lab and the library, and the sidewalk curbs are now even, so I don't have to worry about my high heels slipping in the curves. The Chrome cards assembly is almost complete for the beginning of the school year for grades 1 through 6. I'm pretty excited about that. I wrote 2 grants over the summer. One was the homework gap grant, and I supplied paperwork for you in your packet, and that information came through from On Board. They did contact us and told us there were an awful lot of applicants, so they've extended the date as to let us know if we're going to even be in the running. The other grant I wrote is the Project Fit America, and Mr. Keese was on vacation, but he asked me if I could write it, and I did, and I submitted it on time, so hopefully we'll get that as well. And that will be some additional fitness equipment for our students, and I think that will be a nice enhancement, but again, these are both very competitive grants. We're gearing up for Superintendent's Conference Days, which are August 30th and September 5th. We have a lot on the agenda. We're looking forward to the start of school. This is the first year I've seen so many teachers in the building for a couple of weeks now, just preparing and getting ready, and they're very enthusiastic, I think, for the start of school. And our pre-K orientation is August 31st, and that's always a really fun event to see the little ones just excited with their parents and getting ready for the school year. I did supply the paperwork for the 2 grants I wrote in your packet, and I was particularly excited. I hope you saw the pictures of the kids posing for the grants. They were just adorable. And yeah, so it's been a great summer. It's been good. Any questions from the board?
It's probably a very dumb question, but I probably know it, but Chrome card program?
I'll get into that in my report.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Krebs.
Good evening. We have just finished up our summer school program at Sullivan County BOCES. It's run at Liberty Middle School, and they had just finished up today with the 2 Regents tests. 2 Regents testing days was yesterday and today. We have not gotten any results back, but due back probably early next week. Upcoming dates, we have August 31st is also our 7th grade parent orientation with students, so all of our new incoming 7th graders will be matched up with a mentor that day, and we looked for our mentors from our upperclassmen in 11th and 12th grade this year. And on September 1st will be our first fall sports game that will take place. Our football team will participate in a game that evening against Tri-Valley. All of our sports are underway as of Monday. Our teams, and you're going to be appointing some members of our sports staff tonight. And also I'd like to also recognize we have another person that's going to be appointed as our music teacher, Matthew Camara. Matthew is here with us this evening. Matthew, there's Matthew, and he'll be appointed this evening at the board meeting when we go through that. I also provided to you a copy of the policy 4760. We talked briefly about what could the board do at the last board meeting to provide students another opportunity to pass prior to graduation day. And this was a policy that was put in place on July 1st, 1991. It was never updated, and I'm pretty much just asking, it's been in place for 26 years, that we look at revising it or eliminating it so that we have an opportunity for students to take classes that they might fail along with another class in the next year. And that's all I have to share with you right at this time. Any questions?
Did you want to talk about the 27th?
Linda had, the See You at the Poll is upcoming on September 27th. That is a national day of prayer for students prior to school. We meet at the flagpole, and I believe Mrs. Bose will be there and provide a well wishes to students for this upcoming school year, and that's taking place September 27th.
At the high school.
At the high school.
What
yes.
time?
About 7:15
AM?
a.m., right before school starts.
Sorry.
See, you're tired, and I don't know there's
Yes.
one in the
Yeah.
morning.
It was nice. There was a really good turnout last year
Yes,
as well.
we're expecting, I'm hoping more this year. Yeah.
And it's the Bridgepoint clergy that,
Mhm. Anything else?
Decide if they want to, they can discuss it now or direct me to bring a motion up at the next meeting.
Okay. Is there any recommendation you would like to make, Scott, about the doubling up so that we can talk about this now and perhaps set it in motion?
It's policy 4716 that is indicated as makeup opportunities, and when reading through this, it actually states that students have reasonable amount of time to make up missing work. That's also in our attendance policy, so that portion is there. It's the next paragraph that really hits us with a number of students, probably on average 3 every year, that get to their senior year and are not able to take classes prior to that, and they, in essence, have to double up, meaning they have to take a social studies class when they're taking U.S. history and government as a 12th grader, along with economics and government, so they need to pass Regents that year, and same with our English classes. And in the past, we've had some students that have had to take 3 PE classes in their senior year to graduate. So it really puts them at a disadvantage in their senior year, and we end up with some students, because in 9th grade they might not pass some classes, that end up when they get to be seniors needing to take more than what we have in their schedule for the day.
Is there a reason why it only speaks of English, social studies, and physical education?
I can't answer that. I have no idea why it was put in place, why
I
it
know there's
hasn't been
4.
revisited.
Science.
There's no suggestions on anything other than English, social studies, and PE.
I'm wondering if the reason, just correct me if I'm thinking outside logic, but we're required to do 4 years of English, students are.
Mhm.
We're required to do 4 yees of social studies. And we're required to do physical education every year.
Yes.
Whereas science is only 3 years and math is only,
exactly.
can only be 3, right? And language, I'm sorry, what do you call it? Foreign language, things like that. would only, so they could then pick up those, and they could even, well, I don't know, they couldn't double up on math, could they? Even,
We have had some students that are taking algebra for a credit and business math for a credit, so they are able to,
because it's not mentioned here, they can double up
they
there.
can double up there.
Interesting.
It's the
Okay.
concerns with mostly with our English 11 and our US history and government and global. And because they can't double those up, they end up having to push them back to their senior year.
And is there a reason they're not taking them in summer school, as the policy states they could do?
Yes, some students choose not to because they know they can take it here and don't have to travel or do summer school. Some work, some, there's a variety of reasons why they might not take it in summer school.
Would the board like to address this as a motion then, so that we wouldn't pass it tonight, but we would be able to discuss it, and then we would pass it in September if we chose to change anything?
I would like that to happen so that our students don't have to double up in their senior year.
Mhm.
That's my recommendation, that this policy right here is eliminated and that counselors can look at students and teachers can look at students individually rather than just saying they didn't pass Global 9. So then when they go into 10th grade, they're taking Global 9. Then they have to wait till 11th grade to take Global 10. And then in 12th grade, they're taking US history and economics and government and only
Right.
have one shot at a Regents to graduate.
So if we made a motion to just eliminate that sentence, students will not be permitted to double up, in their senior year, until their senior year, then that would leave it more up to teachers, faculty, guidance counselors to
Or get rid of-
recommend it when it's appropriate.
I'll get rid of the policy.
Yeah, I would just recommend eliminating the policy, because I don't know what else in there
Oh.
that it speaks to other than just that.
It's not a required policy.
It's not a required policy?
No.
By the way, this is Wendy DeWind. She's a lawyer from Hogan Szynski. I can't do the rest of them, all of them, but, and she's here tonight to advise us, especially because of the bus financing. So, since she spoke, I forgot to introduce her, I'm sorry.
So, no, that is not a policy that the district is required to have.
Okay.
It also predates the Regents diploma, the
Oh.
required Regents diploma, back
Uh-huh.
when there was a local diploma, so that's probably part of the reason for it.
Makes sense. Okay. So, I will make a motion then that we eliminate this policy.
Second.
In order to, I'm sorry, so that's okay, so we'll have discussion.
Yes, we can
So in order
discuss
to
it.
eliminate a policy, we're basically, are we reading a new policy now? Does it require a first and second reading?
I believe because we're just eliminating this policy and not replacing it with anything, we don't need to do that. And considering the start of the school year, maybe it's better that we just, it doesn't seem very heavyweight.
I don't have any particular opinion about it. I just want to make sure that if we eliminate a policy, that we should read the policy for the public's consumption so they understand what we're eliminating.
Okay, all right, so this is policy 4760. It's called Make-up Opportunities. Students will be permitted a reasonable amount of time by each teacher after returning to make up work missed during a legal absence. In grades 9, 10, and 11, if a student fails English, social studies, or physical education and does not successfully complete a makeup in a duly authorized summer school, the student must retake the same course again the following year. Students will not be permitted to double up until the senior year in order to make up failed courses. This was adopted in July 1st of 1991, and the motion that I put forth and was seconded is to simply eliminate this policy. Any other discussion?
I just have a question about the, I'm sorry, Linda, go ahead.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I don't think there should be any, whatever, dissension against it, but should we talk to the teachers?
I think I trust Scott's judgment on this, and I know he's talked with guidance counselors, and this has been something that was brought up at the at the July meeting because of the graduation rate.
Right.
So we did hear it then. I don't feel like it's new information to us.
Okay.
And do you feel, Scott, that there is any teachers that would object to this?
I don't think so. I think that most staff would want to give students every opportunity to try to pass that they're possibly able to do. If it's not possible for a student to, because of whatever reason, we have students that actually come to us from other states that don't have these
Yes.
requirements also, and
Yes.
because of some of these students coming in from other states, they can't double up until their senior year also. So this allows us some flexibility in looking at each student individually.
And that's really the point of this, that you look at each student, because if you didn't think somebody was able to double up, you wouldn't pile that on them anyway.
That's correct, and that's
Okay.
one of the reasons why we have some students that go a fifth year, because amongst the variety of reasons, parents, children don't believe that they can do everything in their senior year or fourth year, so wish to spread it out over 2 years.
Sure.
And so this at least gives us an opportunity that if we do have a student that, for whatever reason, they at least can have an opportunity to stay on track.
Any further
So
discussion?
my question was just regarding the summer school stance. So what this policy indicates is that if a child does fail English, social studies, or phys ed in 9th, 10th, and 11th, and does not successfully complete makeup in a duly authorized summer school, well, then they have to take the same course, and that's where this causes the problem of doubling up. So,
Yes.
Mr. Krebs, I want to ask again, that the reason why kids don't take summer school, is that exclusively because they choose not to participate in summer school, or do we have some funding issues or availability issues for summer school makeup programs?
There's no funding issues. We provide summer school for every student.
So it is available?
And it's available for every student.
Okay.
But there could be transportation, students work, don't want to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning in the summer, I don't know.
right.
But some of those have been the reasons for the students not participating in the summer program.
All right. And then just to clarify, I mean, this policy's been in place since 1991, and that's 26 years.
Yes.
So I'm not certain that this one change solves our problems that we experienced this year when it's been in place since 26 years. But certainly if this is a recommendation that makes sense, then I'm fine with it. But I mean, this is not a new problem. This was adopted in 1991 and not revisited since.
Okay, let's vote. Allison?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll say yes. I don't vote. Go around it. I always go around it. All right, Ms. Lewis, School Business Administrators Report? I'm sorry, Scott, was that the end of your?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are wrapping up the purchasing for the 17-18 school year, and things are starting to be delivered. Our summer buildings and grounds projects are in full swing. The Mackenzie parking lot and driveway will be repaved August 28th and 29th. Currently, there's a dip in the road that needs to be repaired, and if we do not repair it, the snowplows will rip it up this winter. So it was recommended that we do repave it, and we would get another 15 years out of that asphalt job. We also will be paving the tennis courts and the basketball courts because they are in great disrepair and need work. So we will be going over top of them. And that, I don't have a date on that yet. All of the pavers are very busy. I did search out several different contracts, New York State contract, DCMO BOCES contract, and the paver that we went with is off the DCMO BOCES bid. So that is on the agenda to be done. We've been working on the bus driver contract for negotiations and settlement. Preparation of the bus lease agreement with legal counsel. Preparation of the 2017-18 tax warrant. Personnel and human resources activities in the summer are very busy with new hires and new appointments. The one thing I do want to really touch on that is a great thing for the district is that since I came here, I've really been focused on cooperative purchasing because that is a great savings, economy of scales. And in the 2016-17 school year, we saved $115,936 through the cooperative purchasing, which is a lot of money, and it really helps our budget.
That's good.
Financial accounting, monitoring AP and payroll activities, making sure everything is going smoothly and for the startup of the school year. Coordinating the excess and sale of used buses through DCMO BOCES. Last month, I reported that I would be doing a bid to sell the buses. I did the bid. I sent it up to DCMO BOCES because I wanted a second set of eyes on it, and they are the gurus in bidding. And they called me immediately and said, "Why are you doing a bid? You will get much more money if you put these buses up on eBay." So that is what we have been doing. We've been taking pictures of the buses, filling out paperwork, and getting it ready to go as soon as the board approves that those buses will be surplus.
Excellent, so we don't have to go out there.
We do not. eBay is a type of bid. There is we do a reserve bid, so there's a minimum amount, and we have the option of rejecting any and all bids. So if the prices don't come in that we feel are appropriate, we can go back to Matthews Bus Sales, their used bus division, and ask them if they're interested in purchasing our buses. And I've been assured by them that they would certainly entertain that. So we are looking good on the sale of used buses. I am preparing for the ST3 reporting, which is our state aid is based on that ST3 reporting. So I've been pulling documents together, working with the auditors, making sure all our financials are in place so that I can start entering that information. And getting ready for 2017-18 opening day activities and trainings, and working with Jesse Morrell from Sullivan County BOCES on trainings for our buildings and grounds and our cafeteria. There's required trainings that our staff has to do every year. And Jesse has started some new programs where it's online. It is part of our COSER, so it doesn't cost us any extra money. And the last thing I want to follow up on, last month we had a discussion with regard to Hogan Sarzinski's annual retainer, and you had asked me some questions and to get some information. So the annual retainer is $8,100, payable in monthly installments of $675 a month. Retainer clients receive 2 free months of service, equal to $1,350 of legal services. So in essence, we get 14 months of service for 12, or 2 free months. Upon full expenditure of the retainer funds, the preferred hourly rate for retainer clients is $178, as opposed to the normal hourly rate of $194. And those are just the financial aspects and benefits of being a retainer client. They also provide us with legal grams, the latest comptroller's opinions, which are very important when it comes to doing business for a school district. You need to be in compliance with these things, because if you're not, you risk losing funding. So I hope that that answers your questions.
It answers a question, but it wasn't the question. We weren't talking about the benefits of a retainer versus not a retainer. Is that the question that you were answering?
Well, I was answering the question, you needed to know clarification on the retainer, because last month on the agenda was.
Right, but that wasn't the question. The question wasn't about whether to maintain a retainer versus paying as you go. That was not the question.
I just am reporting the financial
Thank you.
aspects.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
You're welcome.
Dr. DeFore?
Just have a couple of things. We picked up 2 more pre-K registrations, and we still have 2 weeks to go before school opens. We now have counted 21, and since it's already been budgeted for, it is my plan to have 2 pre-K classes this year. We receive grant money from New York State Education Department to fund part of our pre-K program, and part of that grant requires us to have seats available to all comers. And if we do not have the 2 sessions, we cannot meet the obligations of that grant. This can be reevaluated as we go into the next budget cycle, but at this time, it is my plan to have 2 pre-K classes. Down at Mackenzie, using Smart Bond money, each classroom in grades 1 through 6 will be equipped with this classroom set of Chromebooks for use in their daily instruction. The faculty received preliminary training in the use of the Chromebooks this past June. The BOCES school library system will be coming in on our opening conference days to provide the faculty with a host of e-resources to use in their daily instructions. Linda, Chromebook is a small internet-ready laptop
Okay.
that they can use for word processing, spreadsheet programs, and multimedia instruction. And finally, I'm pleased to report that we have a tentative agreement with our Bus Drivers Association for a 5-year contract with a 3% per run per year increase. Our bus drivers have been the most accommodating while we were going through our financial troubles. They were the ones to first approach me to offer to take 2 years without any increase whatsoever. I think everything that they've requested is well within reason, and I'm recommending that we ratify the contract this evening and appropriate the funds for that. And that's all I have.
Questions for?
Can I get clarification on the Chromebooks? Is there going to be 1 per each classroom, or is there 1 per student?
It's 1 per classroom.
Per classroom, okay.
And there'll be enough on each card for each student in that classroom.
Fantastic.
There's 2 ways of doing, the big thing a couple of years ago were the one-to-one programs.
Yeah.
A drawback of a one-to-one program is that the students need to physically remove that piece of technology from the building each day and take it home with them. And that leads to an uncontrolled aspect of damage, misuse. So we opted, instead of making a Chromebook available for every student in every one of their classes. We're at that point up here at the junior senior high school where every teacher has a Chromebook cart or a laptop cart in their classrooms. And now the second phase of this was to do the same down at Mackenzie in grades 1 through 6.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Excuse me.
Board President's report. I just want to tell you I am pleased and overwhelmed to be the Board President. And I have been reading and 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 reading. So it's like endless. It's like endless, which I, am glad to be responsible for. And I, again, as I have looked at this position and looked at the job that we do, makes me very proud to be a board member for Eldred. Makes me very proud to be the president of this particular board, because I know what we have been able to do, and I know what this school does and what this district does for students. And these are precarious times, so we always have huge questions, always. And I'm just really glad to be here, but I also want to point out this rearrangement of the tables came out of a desire to recognize that open meetings law requires us to have a board meeting in public, and we are doing that. But it is a board meeting of the board. And so although we're very thrilled at this turnout, and we love that you are all here, and we want your questions and your input, this is not a meeting of the public. It is a meeting of the board. So now we can see each other. And I like that we can look at each other. And then the conversation becomes more civil. It becomes more,
Natural.
natural, like it should be, right? So that was my whole goal in doing this. We don't have round tables, but this is pretty close. We're sticking there, like right, MacArthur's window. So that's what this is about. I would like to usher in a sense of civility, a sense of peace, a sense of respect, because we have so much. All of you, everybody on this board reads and thinks and wonders and worries about this district, and that's why we're here. And I don't want to argue. I have fine issues with disagreeing, but we need to disagree without being disagreeable. And so I think that we can do that. This will help us, and I just look forward to a really good year. A lot of challenges and a lot of reasons that we're around this table. So thank you for my position. All right. We are up to public comment, which is limited to the consent agenda, which is items 401 through 714. Any comments? Yes, Mr. Clark.
Paul Clark, Item 615 appears that we're losing an elementary teacher, and I don't see another teacher being hired. Does that mean we're accessing the teacher?
No, we haven't finished the interview process. That resignation came in after our last board meeting, and we are still interviewing. We expect to make an appointment within the next 2 weeks, and we will probably have to have a special board meeting to do that.
Thank you.
But we're not accessing the position.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, then I'll call for the vote on the consent agenda, 401 through 714. I need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Allison.
Or it has to come up.
Oh, that's right. 403 needs to be taken off because we have not received that report. So we certainly can't approve it. So that's out. That's 403. Otherwise, we are on for 401 through 714.
Through, what's the final agenda item on the consent?
714.
Just share these numbers. 14, okay. Do we have a second? Are you looking for a second?
I got a second. Thank you, Allison.
No problem.
So the consent agenda, we'll go ahead with a vote to accept it.
I'm sorry, just have a question.
Okay, sure.
On the minutes from July, I don't know where they are. Minutes from July are on 401. So, Lisa, you might be able to help me with this. The minutes document that I'm looking at here is different from what's in the board packet. I was concerned about the final page, page 11.
It was brought to my attention when I realized it.
Okay, so let me just take a look at
Thank
it.
you.
For some reason it didn't save. I don't know what happened.
Linda picked up on that and called me this afternoon on it.
Thank you. I saw that myself.
So it
and
was
went,
corrected,
"We'll
but
fix
those,
that."
Brian, I think those are the items you were referring to.
That is exactly, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's my only question.
Okay, so then we will vote. Ms. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Reverend Bose?
Oh.
That's your name?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. So we have passed the consent agenda. Moving on to 7.15. And by the way, welcome, Matthew.
Yes.
Yes.
Matthew is Kamara is our new
Kamara.
music teacher.
Yes.
So, welcome. We love music in this school district. We love, love, love music, so. All right. So at this point, we are up to
Old business.
old business, which is 7. Oh, I see, 7:14, then it goes to 8:01. Okay. Old business, the legal services contract. I have a motion, a walk-in motion. I make a motion to appoint Hogan, Zarzinski, Lynch, DeWind, and Gregory, LLP, as our school attorney for the 2017-2018 school year with a yearly retainer of $8,100.
Second.
Calling for the vote. Ms. Wagner?
No.
Mr. Siegel?
No.
I will vote yes. Ms. Bose?
Yes.
And we have an absent. Well, yeah, 2 and 2, so the motion fails.
Which
Okay,
leaves you without a school attorney,
yes.
and I believe I'm going home.
I'll make a motion, we discuss the procurement of a legal service in executive
We
session.
are uncovered. We have no.
We're going to have to have an
I was gonna
executive
say-
session and a follow-up
You
vote.
just canceled our legal services.
We discussed last month the need to pursue discussions on a legal firm that would serve our purposes.
But if you were going to have an RFP.
I'm sorry, this is a discussion amongst the board, ma'am.
Well,
Please speak.
let me just speak as your former legal advisor, that if you were going to go forward with an RFP, which would be what is required under your purchasing policy, typically what happens is you retain the services of a law firm while you do that, be it ours or.
I'm okay with that, we should discuss that in executive session
Okay, but
as an interim solution.
at this point, the motion has failed, so.
We want to adjourn to executive.
May I thank you for your service?
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you, Wendy. Yes.
Much dear.
I will, thank you.
Finish the agenda. You said you wanted to discuss in an executive, correct?
We should, we need to have a law firm.
So
We need to have that immediately.
So there is nothing that we can do in executive to get a law firm. We can make a motion in public to put out an RFP for a new law firm.
Just to be clear, this was discussed extensively last month. This is not a surprise to you, Ms. Bickford.
Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss this issue.
I'll second that, just to follow up from last month's meeting. I'm a little taken aback that
Call for the vote?
in discussion.
Well, did we want to do that now or later?
No, we'll do it at the end.
We'll do it at the end? Okay.
So we have to call for the vote for the executive session?
Or we do that at the time you're coming into executive.
Oh, not until then?
So if you're going to
Time.
finish the agenda, then you make it back.
Okay.
.802, calendar change for November board meeting, and I need to amend that to November 1st, I believe is the Thursday, the first Thursday of the month. In order to get a quorum here, we have found out that there are multiple issues with both of those dates, November 9th and November 16th. So I am recommending through a motion that we, I think it's November, what's the
Second.
Thursday, the 2nd? November 2nd. That be our November board meeting.
Should I bring that out? I mean,
I just motioned it, so if you want to, you can.
I had a
You
while
don't have to
back.
say why.
Okay,
No, you don't have to say why, you just can second.
okay.
Any discussion?
I'm not, unfortunately not available on November 2nd or November 16th, so but you can proceed without me.
Well, 30th? Oh, geez.
That's kind of pushing it. Well, let's call for a vote. Ms. Wagner?
What date are we voting for?
November
To be clear?
2nd.
To be, okay, November 2nd?
Mhm.
That tentatively looks okay. Tentatively.
Mr. Siegel?
I'm not available, so I'll vote no.
Ms. Bose?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. So the motion has passed. Okay. New business. 901, request board certification for district auditors. It's on the agenda. Board, request board certification for district auditors.
It was our auditors that requested the certification, correct? You had asked a question regarding the certifications. I had Lisa send you the email from the auditor. The auditor's request from all new board members, and at the time of last year's audit, you were a new board member. And they had indicated they had requested it at that time and did not receive it. I have no doubt that you were never made aware of that, but they're now going through this year's audit and they're trying to check that box off. Next year, they'd be asking for Ms. Wagner's certifications. So they're just looking for a copy of the completion of the 2 courses that all board members have to take.
And I believe that we have found that certification in the depths of our paperwork.
I have to look for it, but I haven't started looking for it yet.
Can you pass that down? These are mine. My courses are completed.
Oh, thank
So
you.
that way they're,
Good girl.
you guys have them now.
So we're putting that in the file for next year's audit.
Thank you.
So just to be clear,
Congratulations, Allison.
Thank you.
just to be clear, there's a pending question, which I emailed to Ms. Sibertsev, which is that I'd like for the auditors to inform me as to the origin of this request, because the request to provide certification of my state mandated training as a board member is exactly the same question that I received in a private email that I received from Mrs. Bleefernick's personal email account just a couple of days before I received the request from the auditor. So I would like to confirm that this is not a personal vendetta, because no other board member has a request pending for the completion of their state mandated training. I'm glad to comply with any audit request that comes from the official request on behalf of the district, but if the board president is singling out a particular board member and asking for certification, I'd like to know about that before I comply with the request.
It's my understanding all first-year board members are requested to submit those certifications. I will have Mr. Arias email you directly, okay, indicating what's required.
I will answer Mr. Arias's question directly.
Okay.
And just to clarify, as I'm reading, one of the things in here was to assure that all board members have taken training.
So were you concerned with the other board members, Mrs. Bleefernick? Were you concerned with the other board members' completion, or just with my particular?
Well, because you were 3 years and Allison was new, so I was just asking if there were certificates, because I did not ask Lisa to look for them, and I did not ask Bob, so I was just following up as being a new, if you will, a new board
So
president.
just to be clear, you asked me for my certification
Yes.
status and Ms. Wagner, but not Mrs. Bose or Mr. Laput.
No, because they've been on board for a very long time, so I assumed that the auditor I assumed that those were clear. In your case, it was newer, and so
Yeah,
I was just
I have.
I was asking a
I will send
clarification.
my certifications to Mr. Arias.
Right,
Okay, it's
I
not
was
a
just
problem.
asking a clarifying question, no agenda there.
Did you read in that book about using your personal email for that question?
No, I haven't found anything about personal email.
Ah.
Here's my understanding. All email between board members is foilable. So if I write to you something that I wouldn't want the public, say, to know, and it's foiled, then my account, and I'm not too savvy on this stuff, my account through the school board is separate from my personal account. My personal account I don't think is foilable. But even if it is, I mean, it was a simple question, do you have the certificate?
No, I just would prefer that we use our official school district email, because the fact is that the public's ability to foil our communications is important under open meetings law, in that we really shouldn't be communicating much at all. outside of the public's view. So that's why we use official school email accounts.
And those accounts were set up to protect each and every one
Absolutely.
for those reasons.
So at that point, I was having an issue with my school account, which is why I used my personal email.
Okay.
But I hear you, and I am also concerned that we don't do anything outside of
Perfect.
what should be
There
done.
was a time where people routinely used their personal email accounts, and many districts, 5-6 years ago, started turning over to assigning board members official accounts so that their communications could be kept separate from Aunt Sally or grandma or anyone else.
Absolutely.
Makes sense, perfect sense.
So I will look forward to that question from Mr. Arias, and I will
Yeah, we'll get you,
immediately
we'll let them
answer his
send you an
question.
email directly, and we'll have it sent to the Eldred account, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, 902 was requested to put on the agenda by, I believe, Ms. Wagner, the board agenda, or who?
No.
Which one of you,
That was-
Brian? Did you?
So all three of these things are communications that we have had without the public's understanding. So my request was that anything that we discuss outside of open meetings as a board be placed on the agenda so that the public can consume this information. So that's the reason I asked that. You sent an email to the board that the public doesn't know about, and that's why that's here, regarding the new rule for agenda items.
Okay. So what I sent to the board was an email through the school email recommending that all items be on the agenda, either under old or new business, so that things do not come up in the meeting, which we have had no time to prepare for, whether it's questions, whether it's motions, whether it's actions, and there is plenty of precedent for that. I have, interestingly enough, in my reading, found that agendas are not required. I mean, literally not required. And so I was quite surprised at that. We have a policy here in Eldred, though, that we have an agenda, and that items be on either the old or new agenda, and that questions to our administrators give them time to prepare a response so that we're not surprising anybody, because this is not about gotcha. It's not about gotcha. It's about trying to move forward as quickly and as easily as we can. So I still would like to have all items on the agenda, as we are doing tonight, so we're prepared and we know what we're talking about. And there is no reason to bring up surprise items. If you know it's coming, let us know, and then we can all be prepared if it's an item we should read up on or take more interest in. That's all, okay?
So the rule, and I have no problem with the rule, I just would like for discussions that the board has amongst ourselves to be done in public. There's no need for private email communications unless they are related to items that we would normally discuss in an executive session, which are limited to contractual, legal, or personnel matters, which we have to vote upon in public in order to discuss. So I would prefer that for the protection of the board and for the benefit of the public, that discussions like this that we've just had over email over the past couple of weeks would happen in a public meeting. And so regarding the new rule for the agenda, it was specifically that items that would be brought up under new business and old business should be submitted in writing to the board president and the district clerk no less than 48 hours in advance of the meeting. Then the board president would decide whether those things appear on the agenda, right?
It's not an exclusive right to decide those things, but by asking to have them on the agenda, it can be more or preferably not less than 48 hours. The 48-hour was giving our administrators time if you had questions. Like, I'd like to ask about, I don't know, whatever. And then, so instead of doing that, say tonight, when they would not be prepared for an answer, any of our administrators, then I would like them to have a chance to prepare, that's all. So that's what the 48 hours was. Putting things on the agenda can be all month. Tomorrow you can put things on next month's agenda or any time. And that just makes it as public as it can be for us to discuss. There is nothing in the law that says we cannot email each other. There's nothing in the law that says we cannot talk on the phone, chat at PEX, or in any way meet with each other. We cannot make policy, we cannot make decisions. We cannot have a chain of emails where, say, I write to Linda, and then she writes to you, and you write to Allison, and it gets back to me. We all agree. No, we can't do that. That's not open meetings law. Open meeting law says that we have this meeting here. but discussion about, like, if you're gonna put something on the agenda there's no understanding of, why not have an email that says, what are you thinking, Brian? Or what's that agenda item about? That's all. And that's not policy, and that can be done.
Mrs. Bleefer, I like your rule. I have no problem with your rule.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think it's a fantastic rule. I think that we should all be prepared to have a good civil discussion, and I also like the configuration of the tables. I think that's fantastic. I would have supported both of those things had they been presented in a public meeting for us to discuss publicly and vote upon. My concern is the emails that are circulated amongst the board or to the board where a discussion could occur. You know, we might have various opinions that don't have to happen. If it's an emergency, I get it. Or if we're discussing whether something should be on the agenda or not on the agenda. But I really think, and I like what you said, I think that we should try to reserve all of our discussions for open meetings. And that's the only point that I was trying to make. So again, I like your rule. I just think that we should discuss these things whenever possible in public so that everybody knows what we're doing.
And I think that's fine. I just don't want to delay or get in the way of getting things done because we can't have an email saying, can we meet at 6:30 instead of 7, you know, and we'll put it out.
Oh yeah, logistical differences.
Yeah, it's just simple.
To kind of piggyback off of the agenda, in the future, is it possible, thank you, Ms. Lewis, for starters, for answering my questions and being so thorough regarding the bus lease. I appreciate that. What I was looking for with a lot of my questions was the supplemental information that you attached to your email, which was part of our board agenda that we all approved. That was not part of our packet, so in the future, I would like it and I would appreciate it if we're going to vote on something that we have all of the information present, because I like to be thorough and I like to go through things, and I appreciated getting all of that secondary information, but it would have been nice to have had it all at once instead of me having all of these questions about, you know, things being vague. So is it possible that we can get even more information from you if
Provide
possible?
whatever's needed. Unfortunately, sometimes when you're working so close with
Yeah.
something, it may make sense to you what you're sending out,
Yeah,
but not to the reader.
yeah.
And that's why I asked Ruth to send that out last week, because in our mind, what we were working on was what we were working on, but you had a series of questions that we didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
So that's why we sent it out as far in advance as we could, and we appreciate it when you send it back, so, like, okay, we're looking at this from a completely different angle. Yeah, that information's right here, we need to get that out.
Yes, exactly. So thank you very much for collaborating and getting that to all of us in a timely manner, so my questions were answered. I appreciate all of that, so thank you.
I have to admit that I didn't read Ms. Wagner's questions or any of the answers, because that's the kind of thing that makes me uncomfortable. I think that it's okay if we submit questions in advance of a board meeting so that our administrators and staff can be prepared to answer the questions. But when we start to get into a back and forth dialogue where the board is reading the answers to the questions and then deliberating upon those answers, it's almost like we're having a discussion about how we're going to vote. It's informing our vote. And I would just think that it's better if we submit the questions. That's reasonable for you to ask for questions so that you're prepared, so we don't blindside you with questions. But I don't like the answer part. I don't like to get the answers to the questions that inform my decision about the way that we are all going to vote as a board. And I don't think there's any need for that. I think that if you certainly clarify a question, right? So if Ms. Wagner, for example, says, you know, tell me about this particular part of the lease, and so I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. Could you clarify your question? I think that's okay, exchange between one board member and one staff member. But if the answers are coming back in an email to the entire board, it's like we're having this discussion about the bus lease, but the public doesn't get to witness it or participate in it. And that's the part where I think we should avoid those kind of scenarios.
Well, it is just informational, though.
It is, but it's a discussion, I think, that would benefit the people that we serve, probably even more so than our own perspective. We have to vote on it, right? We do serve the people. I get what you say, that this is a meeting amongst ourselves with the public present versus a meeting with the public. But all of our business should be conducted in full view of the public. So, again, I think that it's great to submit questions in advance, but the response to that should be, okay, I will bring that information to the board meeting so that I can share that with the board, all 5 of us, and then we can further discuss it. So, again, I have not read any of the dialogue that the board has had with regards to the bus lease, because it makes me uncomfortable. I think that it differs from my understanding of open meetings law.
Okay, all right. We can agree to disagree on that one.
As long as we know that where our standards are, that unless we discuss something and actually vote on it, right? I mean, it's an open game, not game, but
I understand Brian's point of view. You know, and this is
Yeah.
the first time we've handled anything this detailed in such a short period of time. So this was a little new to the two of us as well. So we were trying to get as much information in your hands so that when you came here, you can make an informed decision.
Okay. 903 is really related to 902. We've kind of covered both of them at the same time, and we will be very circumspect in our communications outside of a public meeting so that we don't err on the side of violating the open meetings law.
Perfect.
At this time, we have public comment based on anything. Oh my goodness, we have hands. Okay, so let's see, I saw up here first, Mr. Carr.
I can wait.
Oh, okay. Who else wants to speak? Ms. Lombardi.
I thought that you might be interested in hearing a little bit about the journey that the yearbook has taken over the years, because I was thinking about the future this coming year and thinking about how every year I go into 5th grade in the spring and talk about it. So I'd like to do that for a few minutes with you folks, if I may. And I'd love to have these back at the end, but I'll pass them around. In 1995, when GRM opened, a high school teacher produced this yearbook. I don't know who it was. It's black and white, pretty basic book, but very relevant to that time. Then, eventually we moved along, and Jostens offered us to design our own cover with children's artwork on it, which made it a lot more wonderful. So it was still black and white. Everything was done by hand. Everything was cropped and typed and sent to the company, and it was just labor intensive. So I'd like to show you how the following year appeared. Then a few years went on, and Miss G took over the yearbook while I took a child-rearing leave. And when I came back and took over again at some point, color was an option and technology was an option. So there was no extra cost for color, and we could look through a catalog and decide on a cover for our school. But the downside of that was that we may have picked a cover for our school that Fallsburg had for their school, so it wasn't personal. And every year when I go to 5th grade, we talk about that. And unanimously, the children decide, yes, we have to make it our own. It has to be our work. So here is one sample. The 5th graders get to submit a piece of artwork to me, and then each child, pre-K through 5th grade, gets a vote. And the winner gets to appear on the cover. So here is how we moved along. Now I submit everything through the internet. All of the manipulation, I can touch up things with my photo programs at home. It's still a huge amount of work. It's really a 12-month position because I'm organizing photos, thinking about where I need to be to get some photos. I have to make sure that no children are missed. I don't ever want to miss a child, and so on and so forth. So here is how it evolved. Even the textures have changed with time. So that was just my little bit, and I thought you'd be curious as the evolution to that. I'll pick them up later.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Lombardi.
You're welcome.
Yes, in the back, hand up.
Hi, Roxanne Crowley, special education teacher here in New York. I would like to say congratulations and welcome to BCS, Michael. Thank you.
Congratulations to the new choral teacher.
Thank you, Michael.
And also pertaining to Ms. DeWind, working with her hand in hand at Committee of Special Education meetings, her presence as a lawyer in high-profile cases, her knowledge was astounding. Her presence was undeniably there, and she has been there for us on so many occasions that for years with Ms. Tony and I, Ms. Honkin and I, as a case manager with parents that are in such emotional, when there's so much emotion and they come there and she makes that presence, she has made those meetings so smooth and she calms everything down. So I wish I could have said that in front of her. Unfortunately, though, she was dismissed. And, but I would like everybody to know what a great job, because you guys don't work with her, we have, and she's been an asset.
Thank you, Ms. Curry. Any other comments? Yes, Sherry.
Sherry Van Hain. I was in the other building today, and just by looking at the floors here at this building, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Everything is shiny. Our custodial staff is amazing. Everyone is fabulous. My room just happens to look like a bomb went off because I'm cleaning my own shelves, but they had nothing to do with that. But everything looks fabulous, and I just appreciate how everybody's been right on top of that. So when we do open it, we're spot on, and it all looks fantastic. And we're all getting ready, so thank you.
Thank you. Yes, in the way back, I see a hand. Yes, hi.
Well, this is scary even in the back. Carrie Schreibel, Berryville. I've been privileged to be one of your bus drivers for going on 23 years now. And myself, on behalf of my fellow bus drivers, we just want to thank the board, Dr. DeFore, Ms. Lewis, for all your help and hard work with getting our contract done so quickly. It's been a crazy few months with this bus thing and everybody freaking out, but I know it's going to be a great thing. I'm excited about it, and thank you all for the hard work you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other hands? I saw one way in the back, and then I'll come to the front. Hi.
Jasmine McGrail. I've never been to one of these before.
Well, thank you for coming.
My husband Corey and I have 5 children in the Eldred School District. 2
Oh, God bless you.
Graduated. Jackson was valedictorian in 2016, and Alyssa graduated this year, so we're in 2017. We have 3 other children coming up in the ranks. And I just wanted to ask a question and then maybe have an opportunity to speak into my thoughts on the matter. If I could just get some clarification as to what is happening with the advanced classes in the upper level, as far as whether we are leaning towards moving to AP classes or if we are continuing with Sullivan County, or if it's going to be kind of a dual situation. I have some pretty strong feelings about it, and I was just wondering how this decision came about and what the decision is, and just curious as to that process.
Right now, it's a dual situation.
Okay. In all of them?
Well, not in all of them. We just started offering, 2 years ago, we were offering an AP Music Theory class, and there were a couple of online AP courses. Last year was the first year we started offering AP classes in U.S. history,
Physics.
and they were taught here by our teachers. So this is just the infancy of our AP program, so it is running tandem with the Sullivan County Community College program, and we need to get it firmly established before we make a decision one way or the other with it.
Okay. If I could just take a moment to speak into my thoughts on the matter in our experience. We have children who do pretty well in school, and Jackson was able to graduate in 2016 with 24 college credits through the Sullivan County Community College classes that he was offered here, which was a huge blessing. He was accepted into the Berklee College of Music in Boston. The only credits that they would not accept was his AP theory class.
Really?
Yes. And so, just in the interest of our children continuing out to college and those college credits being accepted, I would ask that the board maybe look further into whether or not the Sullivan County classes are a better benefit to our students than AP. And the reason that I feel strongly that the Sullivan County classes are better is because, number one, I believe it's at least 50% of our students that go on to college are going to be going to a SUNY college, SUNY University. And because SUNY Sullivan is part of the same program, they will absolutely take the credits from Sullivan County. There's no question. Even Berkeley, which is one of the top music schools in the world, was willing to take Jackson's college credits through Sullivan County, but were unwilling to accept his classes.
Okay.
As far as Alyssa's concerned, we don't know yet. She's not going to college just yet. She's going to take a gap year. We are pretty confident that her Sullivan County classes will count in her whatever school she goes to, whether it's here or in another state. My other issue is that I have very different children, obviously, 5 of them, and they all learn very differently. My oldest child, Jackson, is like a photographic memory and does very well on exams. He works hard, but he doesn't really have to. He could take any exam and do well. Alyssa, however, is not like that. She works very, very hard for her grades. She's an excellent writer. She is a very good communicator, but she does not do well on tests. And I just want to make sure that people understand that with the AP classes, you can work all year, you can have an A in the class all year, and if you do not score a 3 or a 4 on the AP exam, no college will take those credits. My desire is for our children to not work their butts off and then not do well on one exam and allow that to decide whether or not their credits are accepted at a university. I feel that the college credits should be based on a more global learning process. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on students who maybe don't test well to have to take an exam in order to decide whether they get the credit for the class. In Sullivan County classes, as long as you score, I believe it's a 75 or better, C or better in the class, you're guaranteed to get the credit for that class. So you can maybe not be a great test taker, but be a very hard worker and still get your college credit regardless of whether you do well on the final or not. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Hello, Joanna Dutcher, Berryville. I have 2 things. One is that I haven't been able to come to the board meetings this past year due to personal reasons. Now that's cleared up, we'll be able to come to more, but I have been watching the videos, and I just have this thing that in today's society, we have many people who are out for themselves, people who do anything, and I really mean anything, to try to discredit someone just because they don't have the same beliefs. I don't think that this should happen, but I really don't think that this should happen where children are involved. I think this board should be about those students and about our community. I don't think it should be, the last meeting, I can't even comment on it. Watching the video was horrendous. And then to get the messages I've been getting on Facebook by certain people have been horrendous. And I dealt with that when I was running for the board. The messages that I got were horrendous, and just because I don't share the same beliefs. I don't allow myself to join in on that, but I think that there shouldn't be name calling or disgracing somebody when you're at a board meeting or when it has to do with our students. We are the adults. We should be setting the examples. I believe that we're all here to help resolve issues and that we should come up with solutions that enhance student learning and growth without putting our community into poverty. We have to think about our community. Obviously, they're a huge part of our students. There are many programs out there that our student body and community could benefit from. I think that we should stop wasting time on name calling, finger pointing, and needlessly long meetings and focus on positive. I think that we should evolve and learn from our past mistakes and move forward. And I found this quote, "You're being presented with the choice to evolve or to remain. If you choose to remain unchanged, you will be presented with the same challenges, the same routine, the same storms, the same situations," like the thing from where, there was the policy from 1991. It's time to evolve. I think that until you learn from those situations and those storms, until you love yourself and those who you are in charge of, to say no more, until you choose change. If you choose to evolve, you will connect with the strength within you, You will explore what lies outside the comfort zone. You'll awaken to love. You will become. You will be. You have everything you need. Choose to evolve. Choose to love. Our teachers, our bus drivers, tremendous. Our administration, our custodians, our substitutes, anything, and our community are all here for our students. And the bickering, the name calling, the nasty, horrible messages that get sent, that's not what we're here for. We need to be adults. We need to be here for the children, and we need to come up with programs. I agree with Mrs. McGrail. Just from working with my former students going to college, their AP classes aren't accepted. But working in the college courses, they are accepted. I have a student who just made Dean's List in the Navy. They didn't accept her AP courses, but they accepted all the SUNY Sullivan courses. So I think that, this is what we need to do. We need to evolve. We need to make positive changes. We need to stop being bitter. And we need to just be there for our kids and our community.
Thank you, Ms. Dutcher. Okay, Mr. Clark?
I just had a couple questions. Last meeting, we talked about the organizational charts for employees, and I was just wondering I don't remember if we were going to bring that up this meeting, but I was just wondering if they've been resurfaced, or
The board was provided with the copies they requested.
Is the public able to get that? Is that?
You send me an email requesting it, we'll provide it.
Okay. And then the other question I had, because we mentioned it briefly in the beginning, prayer on September 22nd?
7th.
7th, sorry. I was wondering if that was sponsored by the school or not.
No, it is not. It's
No.
outside. The Bridgepoint clergy has done it last year. Was their first year, I believe, and prior to that,
nationwide,
there was other people
worldwide.
that also came. And so,
Excuse
no,
me.
it's not a school sponsor.
It's a nationwide, worldwide program.
On that day.
The other thing I want to say, I believe last December, I wrote an article for the River Reporter. One of the things that I discussed in the article was I talked about the length of the meetings and the business that's conducted. And I think that I understand the, I don't want to say criticism, but I understand the discussion around meetings being so lengthy, but that's what we're here for. We're here to discuss, policy, we're here to discuss things. We shouldn't rush it just because we want to get home, to watch TV or just to go to bed. I mean, if that's the case, we need to make the meetings earlier or something, but I don't think that, we should discourage ourselves from sitting here and conversating. So.
Thank you. Mr. Clark?
Yes, my name is Paul Clark. I just want to give you a little further introduction as to who I am. There's teachers here that don't know me. There's parents here that don't know me. I have a very long-standing relationship with this school district. In the 1990s, I ran the youth soccer league for 3 years. In the 1990s, I ran the youth baseball league for 3 years. In 1988, I was elected to the Board of Education. I served for 10 years, many times state president. I also served as liaison for Sullivan County in the New York State Legislature. Senator Charles Cook was chairman of the Senate Education Committee. I have 2 sons that graduated from this school. My son Chad, 1995 scholar athlete, now a major, just came back from the tour in Kuwait, and my son Luke was also very high. What else can I say? I served for 8 years as a soccer referee in Sullivan County. So what I want people to know is I have a relationship with this community, and I have served this community and the children well. People like to paint me as a guy who hates teachers and hates kids and just wants to save money. Not true. But anyway, now to the board. I can add something to the discussion on the policy for 1991. Look into the policy manual. I've noticed there's a lot in 1991.
Yes.
I think what happened was, and I can't recall as a board member, I think what happened was New York State School Boards sold us a program to go through our policy manual and update everything. Okay, so hopefully, if this is a new beginning, we're going to have some time to go through that policy manual again. What else did I have to say? As far as the old business and the new business, my understanding is the old business gets carried over from the previous agenda, and the new business gets brought up at the board meeting so that it can become old business at the next meeting. And if there's anything that's timely, that the superintendent says, well, we have to work on this tonight, then you could do that. But by doing that, it's very important that all the board members get all the information. And one of the problems in a small community with a small board like this is, suppose the president calls 3 of the board members and forgets to call the 4th. Well, the 4th is left out. So now you're going to have poor communications, and that board member will feel like, well, they got as many votes as they needed, and they didn't tell me anything. So I think it's very important that you stick to procedure. And the other thing is, I currently serve on the audit committee. I think my education as economics and accounting helps us very much by doing so. And I would hope that very soon I would be invited as a community member to sit on a committee that decides where the school district is going in the next couple of years, because I haven't seen any decision like that. And I think we need to address some of the issues that we have now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mrs. Bleefernick, if it's okay.
I have another.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
My name's Rose Hamill from Eldred. I'd just like to ask you this, why can't you send us out notification when there's a meeting? I have no children in the district.
Yes.
But I live here, I pay taxes here, and I would like to attend these meetings. You send us out papers, newspapers, and all other kind of crap, but never notification when there is a school board meeting. And I think that you should.
Our school board meetings are held on the second Tuesday of every month, unless we vote like we did this time to move it to November 1st. But what notifications do we put out?
Put it in the newsletter.
In the newsletter. Do you get the newsletter?
The newsletter goes to every resident, so we can put it in.
So the newsletter goes.
I'm not saying that I don't get them,
Yeah.
but that's like maybe once or twice a year. That's about the only time I get it, when you're coming up for a vote.
Yeah.
Or, you know, to tell us, you know, that this is how much money you want for, you know, your budget.
Yes.
That's the newsletter I get. So I think that, you know, as a taxpayer and a citizen of this area, all of us should receive some kind of notification every month. We all have busy lives. I don't do computers. I don't do emails. I don't do text. I don't do Instagram. I do telephone and mail. And I think that we should be notified. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose.
It's just a suggestion. I just came into my mind, I'll share it with you. We can talk about it in the future if we need to. But you know, we have the school messenger for parents, and we all subscribe to that. And it might be useful looking into maybe something that the community can subscribe to, where they get a telephone alert. You know, we wouldn't be bombarding people with, you know, like a blanket message, but if people want to be notified and they tell us that they do, via going to our school website or something like that, then they get asked for alerts. Just something to think about. You know, we have the technology in place.
Good suggestion.
Then post this.
Yeah, doesn't cost anything additional. Keep it going.
Yeah, we have another comment?
Sia Kurtzman, teacher here in the district. I just want to piggyback off two things on this discussion. Wholeheartedly agree that Board of Education members are essential partners, and in being so, the element of being respectful with each other is paramount here for us to see, to be working together without acrimony and hegemony. In regard to Mrs. DeWitt's firm, I would like to say it sounded like there was a question about retention of legal services in totality. Ms. DeWitt and her firm has always been capable, competent, and functioned with full integrity. If RFP goes back out, I would pray that they come back to us.
Thank you. Okay, I need to.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Lee. Just one real quick question. Two individuals who addressed the board spoke with regards to AP versus SUNY Sullivan courses, and I have to admit, I need to learn more about that as well. Can we somehow find a place on the agenda to discuss that and the benefits of AP versus SUNY Sullivan so that we make sure that we're providing our students with programs that benefit them the most?
Okay, so that will be something that will be on the next agenda then.
Yeah, if not the next one, the following one, and give us time.
Certainly.
In September to maybe address it in October.
Thank you.
Okay?
Okay. We need a motion to go into executive session with the possibility of doing business when we return.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we actually already passed that moment, but go ahead.
Okay,
Just-
I'm Neil Eldred.
Yeah.
I just wanted to really bring to you attention of the board and incident that took place a couple of weeks ago on my backtrack your Facebook page. And I'm talking in reference to Mr. Paul Clark. And I'd like to share this document.
We can't have
Mr. Nealon, this is not the place for this, I'm sorry.
Okay, you know what, that's fine. I'll put it up on the page so everybody can see.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate your understanding. Okay, I made a motion to go into executive session for legal matters
And with the possibility of doing business.
and with the possibility of doing business when we return.
Just one.
I need a second for that?
Second. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Linda
Mrs. Bowles wanted to second this.
Okay. Let's have a vote. Allison?
Yes.
Yes.
Brian? Linda?
Yes.
Me? Yes.
You all get up, just stay 1 second. This way I can give this to this is the tax warrant.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, we actually did this 1 year and everyone went home. So, 1, 2, 3, just sign away. This way, I'll let her go and do what she's got to do. Thank you so much. Linda, would you sign here, please?
No, I just paid for it myself. I don't know why I have these. She can't go to the post office.
Under Brian's line. Okay, you gotta give me a second, I don't know.
Thursday.
Right, does this still work? Okay.
The messenger system, I think if they want the message, they could sign up for it.
This is the tax system, or the, you go home 1 year and then sign it, we have to go chase them down. Let me see what proves it.
I can still, yeah, the issue is someone doesn't have that.
Once you put something
You take out right there, right? Yeah. So probably, yeah.
You do that? Great. Let me go grab that. That's good. That's good to know.
You know what? You see him in the bright archer. Tell him I said goodbye. Are you? Get my audits. Listen. I swore on the 22nd we had something in there already upstairs. I'm going to be real sick now.
Yeah, they're both the same. Mine is from 8 till 9:30 and yours is at 10? Yes.
I don't have a place for it anymore.
But that's what it was.
Oh, it'll be right.
Yeah.
So it's still the 28th, right? I thought it was in my mind because the basement, there's another event on the 31st welcoming. So now I got one of those. A 7-day weekday. I gotta put it on festivals. You know, and I just wanted to confirm because I got 2 days. So.
Good. We're going into Mrs. Messina's room here.
Okay.
It's clean enough that we can have a meeting.
Okay.
All right?
It's gonna be on the